Welcome back to Que-pasa-Nashville. My name is Christina Allen, and thank you for joining. We are talking with the president of the Islamic Center of Nashville, Rashid Fakhruddin. Thank you very much for joining us. We were talking earlier about your 5 pillars of faith and the importance of how that is for a Muslim to practice that. We talked about testimony, prayer, charity, fasting, pilgrimage. I want to go back to charity. I mentioned earlier that the Islamic Center and a lot of the mosques are doing so much more community outreach, being part of the community, the neighbors, the community as a whole, the Habitat for Humanity, the Red Cross donations, doing anything. I love your signs that you put on for the country marathon, you go runners and stuff. Why is that? Why is that important to your center, to your religion, to you?
I think our faith promotes service towards the community, as I finished off earlier about, there's a teaching by Prophet Muhammad who said, every day the sun rises, every joint of every person has to commit an act of service. So we have like several hundred joints, so that means we should be doing at least several hundred acts of charitable acts. And then he goes on to say, acting justly between two people is a charity. Helping a person with his or his mount, lifting him onto it, or hoisting up his belongings onto it is a charity. To say a good word is a charity. Removing something injurious from a path is a charity. So
you're doing way beyond that.
So we can apply that to just every moment of our life. We need to be out there helping others. That's what Islam is about. And so we were involved, we partnered with Belmont University, where every Friday for about 4 months during the winter, we pick up the members from room in the inn and take them to Belmont University Friday evenings, and then transport them back on Saturday mornings. This is the kind of act that we have to show that humanitarian efforts towards our community.
Talk about your bringing in leaders to your mosque. I've seen that you promote an Islam 101,
yes,
which I posted on my Facebook, and I had people say, hey, who wants to join me?
Yeah.
And I had people that I didn't even know or think about said, I want to go to it. And I had me to take them there, but they learned about your faith, which made them comfortable as well. You do a lot with students. A lot of schools come to your center to learn about your faith. Well, kind of expand on that.
I think, especially this day and age, there's a lot of misinformation about Islam. And sometimes it's very frustrating, but either we can complain, raise our hands up in the air, or do something about it. And our approach is, well, we have to be proactive and let people hear from us firsthand what Islam is and what it's not. Because we have firsthand information, we've studied it, we've lived it all our lives, and it is a peaceful religion. And when we have classes over, we found out a lot of people are trying to find out how they can visit a mosque. There are groups and leaders. And then there are a lot of people who don't know anything about it, but it would benefit them to know that we're all neighbors, we're living together. So it's better to live with true information as opposed to just misinformation and fear your neighbors. So people who don't have, sometimes they'll have horror stories, or not horror stories, but they'll be fearful of us because of what
the anti-Muslim sentiment.
They hear
still
about us, which isn't true. So it goes not just with Islam, but any group. I think we should all reach out to get to know each other, get out of our comfort zones. So for us, we've done that, and we have groups come to visit our mosque on an average 1 to 2 a week, including law enforcement, universities, student-teacher workshops, high schools, middle schools, and once we learn about each other, we find out that we're all neighbors, and we're all Nashvillians here, and we're all in the same boat. We want to make Nashville better, and it's a lot easier to work with each other when we know more about each other based on proper information versus fear.
So 2 things. Recently with the shootings in Chattanooga, obviously, everyone kind of looks at you and your mosque and saying, okay. And I'm sure you feel like you always have to defend yourself, but you did something incredible. You raised money for the victims. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, it's just, again, being involved, and we care about this. We care about our country. We care about our society. We care about issues that, every Tennessean, every Nashvilleian, every American faces, and one is crime and safety. And it's as we know, like 204 mass shootings took place in the United States the first 204 days of 2015. So that's alarming statistics for all of us as Americans, and I feel like we need to support, you know, victims of these violent crimes. And I know you and I serve on, you have the Powers Board, and they're doing a great job with taking on that championing that
victims'
rights, and also taking preventive measures from people becoming victims through education, empowerment, and advocacy, such as bullying, sex trafficking, and
doesn't matter what it is, it's all
these
American.
Crazy violence. And or same thing goes with the YWCA's MEND initiative, engaging men against domestic violence, and that's something I'm serving on their board right now. And just, you know, we have to care about our community. Our Prophet Muhammad said, it's part of the branch of one's faith to remove something injurious from a path where people could get harmed. So if that means if I'm a person of faith, I have to think about the safety of everyone around me. If I don't, then I'm not really I'm not representing my faith.
Well, and plus you're demystifying a lot of myths out there.
That ends up happening, and that's a good outcome of it. But the driving force is really we want to build strong relationships and live in harmony. We want to protect each other. And
well, you're a Nashvilleian. You're my friend. I see you on the street.
It's like 3 women a day lose their life to domestic violence. So do we sit back there, or do we do something about it? In our faith, we have to prevent. So we have to have compassion for each other. That poor families of the victim, they're suffering. So we helped raise funds in the Muslim community.
And that was a very nice gesture and very well recognized. I want to ask you a couple things, just really brief. Explain the Quran as simply as you can. I mean, it's like
the Quran. It's just like you have the Bible and the Torah. So the Quran is the divine revelation sent from God through the angel Gabriel to Muhammad.
The angel of Gabriel to Muhammad, okay.
So it's a divine revelation versus the hadith, which are the teachings of Muhammad. They're not the divine revelation, but you take the Quran and the hadith, and that comprises basically most of our guidelines of our religious practices.
And I think for Catholic faith, it's like the creed, our Catholic creed, or stuff like that.
And we have over 6,000 verses, 114 chapters, and it's in Arabic. We have translations, but we memorize as much of it as we can.
Tell me, what exactly is the hijab?
The hijab it's I guess I'll say in a simplified way, a headscarf.
It's a headscarf that women showing their face.
Women cover their hairs and dress modestly, and men are supposed to dress. Women dressing up modestly, but the women's hijab is very similar to the Jewish, the traditional headscarf there, and the Christians. If you see a picture of Mother Mary,
I see Mother Teresa. We all knew who she was by her act of faith and showing her obedience to God with her coverings and stuff like that. So we talked about the Quran, the hijab, and I want to finish talking about this because Mayor Carl Dean recognized April 25th as Muslim and recognized in your community. Tell me quickly about this.
So this was to me a huge. I mean, it was a huge honor to, and it's amazing that today in 2015 we've come this far along where the mayor of the city can recognize the Muslim community, and officially this took place on April 25th.
And they recognized Muslim community as part of Nashville.
Yes.
It was a huge initiative Mayor Carl Dean did, who's been a friend of yours, and you've done so much. He's done so much for your community as well. I hate to cut this short because there's so much more to talk, but thank you very much for being on the show, and I appreciate it. You'll come back.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining Que-pasa-Nashville. Join us each week. Muchas gracias.